I think we already know who the intro is going to be about. Today, Wednesday, February 12th, UConn beat St. John's 70-48, powered by Azzi Fudd, who scored a career-high 34 points, and let's talk about it. Again, like with most of UConn's performances, I thought this game had a good mix of promising, positive takeaways, while also highlighting key areas for growth. I didn't end up doing a game recap for this game, but I actually didn't think that UConn had the best showing in their last outing versus St. John's on January 15th. It was just a defense-heavy game where players really struggled to get going on offense. For further reference, that game versus St. John's was also the first time all season that Sarah Strong didn't score in double figures. But one thing of note is that in the last game versus St. John's, the leading scorer for UConn was Azzi Fudd with 13 points on 6 of 11 shooting. Tonight, she a little more than doubled that, finishing with 34 points on 13 of 22 shooting from the field. What I enjoyed the most about Azzi's performance is, first and foremost, the fact that she came out of the gate in attack mode. She looked to score on 3 consecutive possessions to start the first quarter. First, she put up a floater kind of off balance and made it using the glass. Then she attempted a couple more mid-range shots, either by cutting and being found by a teammate or driving in herself and carving out some space. I love nothing more than to see her taking and hitting those mid-range shots and her elbow jumpers. They're just lethal coming from Azzi. And there's that spot on the left side of the court just across from UConn's bench where Azzi had a little fake out move and then pulled up to hit a mid-range shot, and every time she scores from that part of the floor, it immediately makes me think of the Texas game where she scored her previous career high of 32 points. I also love to see that Azzi just kept on shooting. She finished with 13 points in the first quarter and 17 at the half, and usually I feel like players tend to get one outstanding half of basketball and then they slow down, come back to earth a little bit. Azzi then proceeded to drain 2 threes in the first 2 minutes of the third quarter, so I pretty quickly figured out how the second half was going to go as well. She, of course, ended up perfectly doubling her points total from the first half. What a night it was for Azzi Fudd, quite literally a career night. I am so glad to have watched it and more than happy to celebrate it. Next, I want to talk about Jana El Alfi, who finished with 7 points and 7 rebounds, 4 of them offensive rebounds, but 2 assists to 5 turnovers. Jana got 2 offensive rebounds and an and 1 basket on a single possession in the first quarter that I think encapsulates a lot of her night and where Jana is at the moment. She pulled down an offensive rebound, put up a first shot, which I thought was a bit rushed, but that then led to the second offensive rebound and a putback through contact. I think Jana's still trying to strike the balance in, after pulling down a rebound, figuring out how long to hold on to the ball to either set herself up for a shot or get it out to a teammate, not rushing it as it often leads her to throw the ball too hard off the glass, but also not taking too long so that it gets ripped away or that she gets tied up. I would like to see her be a bit quicker with her decision making there, but her footwork is excellent. She pulled out a nice spin move for an easy basket later on in the game, and she slipped behind the defense and Caitlin was able to find her with a nice bounce pass in the lane for her third bucket of the night. Now, as for Paige Becker, she had 2 blocks in the first 3 minutes of this game, if I'm not mistaken. She finished the first half with a career high tying 5 blocks. That ended up being the same 5 blocks that she finished the game with, but still just an incredible defensive effort in that first half. St. John's is admittedly a smaller team, but it's still an incredible number to put up and was really fun to witness. Paige also finished with 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals, so she truly did a little bit of everything tonight. She had a productive night with 16 points on 6 of 8 shooting and a balanced offensive attack of 3s, long 2s, mid-range shots, as well as driving into the lane and finishing through contact for an and 1. It hypes everyone up every single time. And I've said this before, but I will say it again at this critical point in the season. Every shot that Paige takes is an efficient shot for Paige, in my opinion. 8 shot attempts was a good figure for Paige tonight, but I do hope she takes that to heart and shoots the lights out on Sunday. As a UConn fan, I am more than willing to live and die by Paige's shot and have her running the offense. There was this one play early on that I really enjoyed watching unfold, where Paige was visibly directing Ashlyn Shade on where to go so that she could have more space setting up for a potential mid-range shot, but when that opportunity didn't present itself, she got it out to Azzi, who drained a 3. That intention to shoot and score combined with Paige's court vision is a recipe for success for this UConn team. It always has been, and I'm looking forward to much more of it. It was great to see Aubrey Griffin return to the rotation in this game after sitting out the Providence game with a twisted ankle. She finished in double figures with 10 points and also got to the free throw line quite a bit as she finished 4 for 5 from there. That's something UConn hasn't had much of this season, so I'd like it to carry forward for sure. She also pulled down 9 rebounds, 2 of which were offensive in 21 minutes, and had 2 steals and 3 blocks to go along with that. There's this one play that I remember where a St. John's player was running the floor, and KK tried to poke the ball away and get a steal. Meanwhile, Paige is getting her hand in there as well, and Aubrey finished off the play by blocking the shot. And I just thought to myself, imagine running down the court and you're facing KK Arnold, Paige Beckers, and Aubrey Griffin on defense. Just What a lineup that is. I think Aubrey's motor and defense is just going to be mega for this team, especially in certain matchups. And how can you not mention her rebounding? Aubrey is just so good at pulling down rebounds, going right back up, or connecting with her teammates on smart passes. There's also so many tips and disruptions that she initiates that helps UConn retain or regain possession, even if she doesn't necessarily get credit for it on the stat sheet. I also loved to see her on one play get the rebound, take the ball the length of the court, and slice into the lane for the and one. The entire UConn bench was off its feet. They cheer so much for her, and it's so nice to see. Aubrey plays a gorgeous, fundamentally sound style of basketball that is so much fun to watch. Finally, Sarah Strong's first and only made field goal of the night came on a steal and score. It's not that she shot poorly, she was just 1 for 4 from the floor. Maybe St. John's just isn't her favorite team to play against, considering she hasn't scored in double figures against them this season. But I would say pretty confidently, I always want Sarah Strong to take more than 4 shots in a game. Granted, Sarah, as always, still had an impressive all-around stat line, finishing with 7 rebounds, 2 of them being offensive, 2 assists, 3 steals, and a block. And she always sets some gorgeous screens for her teammates, particularly Paige, that help give them some breathing room. Overall, I'm looking forward to Sarah Strong being one of the cornerstones of the Huskies offense on Sunday because they will need it. And on that note, UConn will play what is likely their most anticipated game of the season, as the number 7 ranked Huskies take on the number 4 ranked South Carolina team, who I think should be ranked higher than number 4, by the way. They're one of my favorite teams to watch, and I just think they're scary good. And UConn will play them on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight in the game versus St. John's, UConn gave up quite the collection of wide open threes on defense. St. John's only did end up hitting 20% of those threes, but I am so serious in saying that the UConn guards and really any UConn player need to be stuck to Tahina Paopao, Tessa Johnson, and Bree Hall's sides like glue, especially when they're out on the perimeter. I'm also increasingly noticing that some of UConn's issues with perimeter defense and overhelping extend inside the 3-point line with pull-ups and mid-range shots as well, but maybe to a lesser extent. The thing about this South Carolina team is that they really do receive such balanced contributions from their players on offense, and on top of that, anyone can go off any given night, so it's definitely going to be up to UConn on how they choose to manage that and what they're maybe willing to compromise on. On offense, I need the South Carolina game to be one where UConn does not face a multi-minute scoring drought in the first quarter. Hopefully not at any point throughout the game, but especially not in the first quarter. It happened in the Providence game last Sunday. Tonight versus St. John's, UConn did have a first quarter scoring drought that lasted 3 minutes, and St. John's went on a 6-0 run to cut the lead to 6 points. South Carolina have shown themselves to be a team that can completely change the tide of a game in just a few minutes. I would really like to see this UConn team come out strong, come out on attack mode. They strike quickly, and UConn need to keep their foot on the pedal to overcome that. They also do need to really limit turnovers. 18 tonight to St. John's 22 is not a great figure, and I also thought they had a couple uncharacteristic turnovers in that Tennessee game as well. In tonight's game, Jana had 5, KK had 4, and Ashlyn had 3. Specifically for those players, Jana is going to face an imposing South Carolina front court, and it is very important that she takes care of the ball while doing so. For KK and Ashlyn, who are coming off the bench, it is important that they fuel and help generate momentum for this UConn team. Turnovers do the exact opposite of that, obviously. There were also quite a few travels called on UConn players in this game, which I'm not sure if I've said this on here yet, but personally, there is nothing that frustrates me more than a travel call, especially when a player hesitates on a shot and then they end up traveling. 1, because I just know that the players are better than that, but 2, because I would just rather them take the shot. Anyway, on Sunday, limiting turnovers, taking care of the basketball, but also capitalizing on any times that South Carolina does turn over the basketball will be of the utmost importance. And that's kind of it. I know there's been some sentiment floating around really all season, but especially since the Tennessee loss, that's basically along the lines of what's the point of these Big East games? And don't get me wrong, I understand where that sentiment comes from and completely agree with a lot of the criticisms levied against the Big East in terms of its strength as a conference for UConn. However, for me personally, how I see it is that if I went into every UConn game thinking what's the point, it would just make for a really long, miserable season for me personally. I do believe that there's something to learn from every game, no matter how big the point differential is. That's why I come on here and nitpick after every game, but I also believe that there's something to celebrate in every game, which is why I come on here and do exactly that. This South Carolina game will be an important experience for this team for sure. I hope it's competitive and fun to watch, and as always, I'll recap it. Thank you for watching. Let me know what your thoughts and takeaways were from this game. I'm fairly certain that a lot of them will be similar based off one player's performance, and that's what happened with the Huskies today. Till next time.